Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. Myself, Akshata Sawant, and I'm working as a developer advocate at MuleSoft. Okay, and this is my first time at DevOps as well. So, just to introduce a bit about myself, I have around 5 years of experience in MuleSoft, APIs, and integration space. Apart from that, I'm also an author and a technical blogger, speaker, and kind of thing. I also love traveling and photography, and I'm a big time foodie. Yeah, so with that, let's get started. So the agenda for today's session, like what we'll be going through is like, first we'll be seeing what is API security, what is the need for API security, and then we'll be seeing like what is zero trust security. Then we'll see how to implement API security, I mean using zero trust security for your APIs, which is like the main highlight for today's session. And then we'll be having a trivia quiz. So why trivia quiz? As I mentioned, like I wrote a book, right? So it just published recently, like around 30th of September. So I have one copy with me, so which maybe I can give it to any one of you for free. And then we can have some Q&A session, like, yep. So let's get started. Just a forward-looking statement. I know. So yeah, all of us, we have been using APIs, and over the last few years, we have seen that the use of APIs has increased like exponentially. The consumption, the usage, I mean, it has, we all of us have been using on our daily basis. But with the use of these APIs, the increase in the use, what is being more neglected is like the API security. We're actually not more focused on API security, and there has been like a lot of issues. There have been so many things which have been put on stake. So let me like give you an example, or maybe like a recent story. Any GTA fans here? I'm sure there must be a lot of them, and yeah, definitely there are. So even if you're a GTA fan or not, you must have definitely heard about this story recently, which like around last year, September, this year, September, around 18th of September, something like that, around 90 videos, 50 videos, something was leaked out, and that has caused a huge damage to the firm. I mean, even the official statements were released. And it has not only caused the damage financially, but also in terms of like the reputation and all. I mean, this is nowhere relevant to API security, but just an example. We have also heard the news like there have been security data breaches which has been happening and which has been like done by the employees as well. I mean, someone internally, someone whom you can trust or you do trust. So in that case, what brings into the picture is like, how are you actually gonna trust anyone, and whom should you be trusting when it comes to security? Now that we're talking about zero trust security, from the name itself, we can say that trust no one. You're not gonna trust anyone. And yeah, let's just limit this to security perspective. You're not gonna trust anyone. You're gonna always verify. Okay? So let us see like the core principles of zero trust security. So basically what zero trust security is, it's mainly a mechanism, or maybe you can say a framework which has been laid out to like have your API secure or your integration, your cloud secure. It's not just limited to APIs, it's for like your entire, like your firm, your organization, your IT infrastructure, everything. It can be applied for anything. But today specifically, we are gonna mainly see like how it can be applied for your APIs. With that, the core principles of zero trust security. The first one, you're not gonna trust anyone, you're gonna verify it constantly, like no matter which, whatever request you're getting, the incoming request, the outgoing response, or from wherever the data is passing through, you're not gonna trust them, you have to verify, you have to get it authenticated, validated, and that's the first one. With that, second one being the least privileges and default deny. So while sharing some documents over Google Drive or maybe anything, you normally have this options, right? Like viewer, commenter, editor. So we normally try to give the least privileges, like just a viewer. We don't want to have like the entire rights and all given. So maybe we can extend that to our APIs as well. We are going to give like the least privileges, least amount of access when it comes to like your methods or your resources which are entitled to your API. Okay. With that being said, you need to also have a full inspection and visibility. So what the main issue is with the increase in the number of APIs, when I said the API sprawling, that's what we call it as. So the number of APIs have been increasing. We don't have a control on the entire API, like all the API ecosystem, like how many, what kind of data is flowing in through, what kind of data are we sending, what information are we passing through metadata. With the complex ecosystems and all these things, they get to be neglected sometimes, and we actually lose our control, like what is actually coming in, what is actually going out. So with that, we need to have a full transparency inspection, okay? And the fourth and the last one, we need to have a centralized management. So we need to be having a one-place stop where we can actually manage all the APIs at one place. So even if there is some security or data breaches, there should be one person, not one person, you should be having a centralized access basically to revoke some accesses or to take a control of the entire thing whenever things go wrong. So that's what means by centralized access. And yeah, so now that we have seen like what is the need of API security and what is zero trust security, let us now see like how are we going to achieve zero trust security for your APIs. So in this thing, you can actually see like it's a mesh kind of architecture, right? There are different kinds of end systems which are connected, like the M ones which you see, yeah, they are the MuleSoft APIs, or you can have non-Mule APIs, you can have any of the APIs. There are some end systems and all which you can see like Workday, SAP, and all these things. Yeah, so just consider that it's a mesh kind of architecture, grid-like of architecture. There are different incoming, outgoing data, and all these things happening. So how are you going to achieve security to such a complex network? The answer would be like having a layered security. So if you see the red dotted line, which is like the peripheral one, and there is one more inside as well running through, so you're going to apply API security at each and every level, at the outside level, and then you can just, this is an abstract kind of thing, and you're just increasing the complexity, or maybe the complexity of system has already increased, and you're just trying to apply API security at each level, at each transactions, okay? So we'll see like in our demo as well, like how are we going to apply API security at micro level, or maybe at each network or each passage level, whenever there is a flow of data from different end system, or there is a communication between two APIs, how do we secure it? So yeah, that was the layer security. And the next one would be like tools in action. Like let's get our tools in action. So just for an example perspective, I've taken auto management system because that's what like most of us are familiar with. So if you see, like this is something derived from the previous diagram which we have seen. We have different end systems, and there are different APIs. So at each and every level, we can have different kinds of policies. I've just listed down a few of the policies so that there won't be like, we are exposed to different multiple kinds of policies, and the requirement or the needs can be differing as well, okay? So for example, we are having different kinds of end systems over here, and like end systems like databases, Salesforce, Workday, or maybe a cloud, and they are interacting with different APIs, okay? And we have applied some different kinds of policies over here. So what I was saying earlier, that we are going to be having a layered approach, a layered security approach, which means that we are going to be having security at each and every stage. Wherever there is incoming flow of data, outgoing data, we need to be having a centralized monitoring, access, full visibility, and control on our data. With that being said, yeah, this is something we are actually going to apply. Like I have an API, and which is like connecting to my backend system, and I'm going to apply a JWT policy for it. Maybe we can see that in the demo, but that is just one instance. So you could be having any kind of policy or security policy. You can be also having a custom policy or something like that that suits your organizational needs or maybe your security requirements. So with that, let's head over to like Anypoint platform. So what is Anypoint platform? I'm sure you guys must be like completely new to it. So it's MuleSoft's iPaaS tool, which provides like a complete API management solution for your entire API lifecycle. You can be doing like lots of stuff. You can be designing API. You can be publishing API. You can be having a repository. You can be like deploying APIs, managing, applying security stuff all at one place. So in our demo as well, we'll be like mainly working on with the Anypoint platform. So let's go there. So this is the URL, Anypoint. You can actually create a free trial account with that. And yeah, let me just first go into Design Center, where we actually have this API which has already been created. Okay. So I already have an API in place, which is loading up. And right from the design phase, it is not something like API security comes at the end or maybe at the development stage. API security is something maybe you have to consider right from the designing phase when you are designing your API. So even here, you must have seen like there is a secured by parameter, which is like I'm actually applying basic authentication over here. So definitely, when you're designing an API, it won't be validating what kind of authentication you have provided or something like that, but it is just like for the other developers to know that you have something in place right from the time you're designing an API. With that, we'll be also providing some governance to API. So standardization of API is something we lack. I mean, suppose if there is a new developer who's joining the team or something like that, so the new developer won't be aware about the standards or protocols or something like, and there might be some few things which you actually miss out. So in that case, what might happen is like you need to actually have a rule set or governance policies which you can be applying to your API. Some API, let me show you guys, yeah. So if suppose if there are different profiles which I have already created, and you can see you can be applying some rule sets. So yeah, I have already applied some authentication best practices. So if in case if I'm missing some of the rule sets, I mean, if I'm missing some of the tags in my while developing API, so this will be giving me kind of an alert that I don't like, I have to apply this policies and everything, and yeah, and so it's in place. So over here as well, I can like, this is my API, which I have developed using RAML, RESTful API modeling language, and yeah, these are some government rules at which I can add. Yeah, it's taking some time to add, and once I have added this API, I can also publish them in Exchange, which is like kind of a repository. Okay, and once my API design, like there are different life cycles when it comes to API designing, I mean API management. The first one would be the API design. Then you're publishing your API, and let us now develop like what API you have. So what is it going to do? So for that, we have this Anypoint Studio, which is like the native MuleSoft studio, which is based on Eclipse platform. So yeah, let me just open it. Yeah, it's a bit stuck. Okay. So I have my code pre-existing over here, and I have also deployed this thing on my cloud. So the next step would be like I have to actually apply some security policies on this. Okay, it's still not showing up properly. It might take some time. So meanwhile, let us go to API Manager, which is like, that is actually the place where I'm going to manage all the APIs, where I'm going to apply all the security policies and all. Okay. So when it comes to security policies, or the API, the one which I showed you about, so there are different kinds of let us go into the security section. Yeah, so there are different kinds of security policies which you can be applying. You can be having a basic authentication, an LDAP, JWT, OAuth, something like that. As you guys are from like Java background, you must be like more into libraries and all these things. So we can actually do it straight away, because we developers often tend to neglect the security, and we think that it could be something for maybe the architects or like the higher level audience. So it's kind of simple, and the reason why we are not going with the basic authentication and we would be going with JWT policy is when you're having a basic authentication, so in that case, you actually have a username and a password. But that is something which can be stolen, which can be misused as well. So that's the reason you need to be having, like, when you're saying you're going to verify it constantly and again and again, so it means that you need to be having something like token-based authentication or multi-factor authentication, so that you're not trusting any entity, any resources. Whenever we're using these devices, we get this thing that trust this device, use it, and then it won't ask us for authentication. But this is not something we're going to do. We are not going to trust anyone. We are going to repeatedly verify and authenticate our APIs, our incoming data, and so on. So for that, I have already applied this JWT policy. Let us just go into this. I'll enable it as well, and let us see the configuration as well. So the configuration, we have some different signing algorithms. We have this key length and the text origins. So whenever I try to send a request, let me open this Postman. So it's going to ask me for a token. So how do I generate this token is using gwt.io, and I can be having my 256-bit character length, and it will be giving me a proper token. But JWT is one of the example which I'm going to like I'm applying here, but you can be having anything of that sort. You could be having OAuth or LDAP, SAML, anything whichever suits your organizational needs. And apart from this out-of-the-box policies which you already have, if suppose if your organization needs something different, like along with JWT, you want to pass some different kinds of headers or something like that, so you can also create your own custom policy and protect your APIs. So let me just go into it and see. Yeah, I've already selected these things, the configurations for JWT, which is like quite simple. And yeah, let me just generate a 256-bit character code. And so I mean, this is an example which I'm using. Like I'm using a 256-bit character, but you could be using anything like that. So I'll just enter my JWT key over here, and this is also a static one, but when you'll be actually doing I mean, on your live project something, you can be using something like Okta to generate your token on a regular basis, so it will authenticate. So I'm just clicking save, and yeah, we don't have to do that. And I'll be inserting my token here as a signature. So it gives me a proper JWT token, which I can add it to my API. Like, I hope the security policies have been, yeah, it's asking me, it requires a token because I have not passed a token yet. So I'll be sending out a bearer token, which could be like this. Yeah, and then I got my response back. So that is how it's validating. So this is one of the policies. And when I'm saying a layered approach, you can be having multiple policies as well, and they don't have to be like all the same. Okay. So maybe we can just give a try to something like something different as well. Maybe we can try, apart from security, a rate limiting policy. And you can see, because if suppose this will be like, this is not actually a security policy, but it's going to protect your APIs from DDoS kind of attack. If the number of API requests, if it increases the threshold value, so how it will like stop processing kind of it. So I can give something like 5 requests for a period of 1 minute. If it is exceeding that value, I mean, this is just an example. So it will be denying like all the other requests from you. So this is how easy actually it is to apply a policy and to protect your APIs. So it takes some time, though, to apply the policies and stuff. Okay. Going back to our slides. I mean, we'll definitely see again this rate limiting has been applied or not. So yeah, we'll just glance through all of these products. So you can see the capabilities of MuleSoft which we have used. So we have seen the API designer which we used for designing the API, and then the API governance in which I talked about the rule sets kind of thing. We have also seen the repository, the exchange, where we published all the assets kind of thing, the API. So you're having a reusable component kind of thing. And the Anypoint Studio, in which we have seen like how do we reuse the components, or how do we build our APIs, the application, the Mule application particularly. And then the Cloud Hub, on which our API is deployed. The runtime manager, I'm just quickly glancing it through because I'm sure these are like super new products for you or super new capabilities for you and you're not aware. But no worries, that's fine. And yeah, particularly we have been like on the API manager, which is like helping us to provide the API security for all our APIs with the help of the policies which we have applied, the JWT, the rate limiting, and stuff. And yeah, with these things, the fundamental thing which you need to actually focus on while you're applying security, no matter which tool or which platform you are using, is start with a secure foundation, which is like actually complying to your country rules, your organizational rules, something like that. And then protect your deployment environment. Make sure the environment on which you're deploying your APIs, wherever it is, Cloud Hub, on-premise, or whichever system. So that should be protected as well. And secure each services consistently. And when we are saying consistently, I mean, it should be like the security should be applied throughout the API ecosystem and across all the APIs. We should be maintaining our standards and stuff. Okay. And With that, we are almost done kind of thing. The key takeaways, like we have seen what is the need for API security, what is zero trust security, and how MuleSoft helps us with the security and stuff, what are the capabilities of MuleSoft, how do we apply different policies and achieve layered security. Okay. So next step, if you want to learn maybe more about MuleSoft, then you can join the community. You can also watch us live on Twitch, like how do we do coding and stuff, like fun with MuleSoft. And you can also try a platform, the one which I showed you recently, like the Anypoint platform for free. It's for 30 days free trial, which you can give it a try. Yeah, this is the book I actually told you about, the MuleSoft for Salesforce developer. So if you're someone who's new and who's trying to like maybe get started with a MuleSoft journey or learn something like that, so you can give it a try. With that, yeah, I just have one question. Like, does anyone remember like what are the different what we say what are the core capabilities of zero trust security? Like, would anyone like to? Yeah. Yes, please. Okay, you've written out. Okay, yeah. Never trust, always verify, true. Yeah, default privileges and least privileges and default deny. Yeah, visibility and inspection. And the fourth one is like the centralized management. All right. Thank you so much. And are there any other questions? Or you can also reach out to us. Yeah, just a minute. I would just like to give her this book. Yeah, congrats. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, a question.
Yes. So what is it that enforces the security? Like if I have, something deployed in my Kubernetes cluster, like do I just run some application for you? Do I have to go through your cloud service? Like is it
Okay.
an API gateway, an Nginx module? Like
Yeah.
what is it?
So his question was like, if we are having a Kubernetes kind of the pods and everything, how do we apply security to it? So for that, you will be hosting your Kubernetes pods on some architecture. So over here, as you said, the gateway, yeah, we do have a gateway which is called as the Flex Gateway or the Mule Gateway. I can just, so on that gateway, I mean the API manager which we talked about, it automatically, it is provisioned that you can apply security to your gateway. So the application which I had deployed, or I had pre-existing application which I deployed on Cloud Hub, sorry. So it was via the Mule gateway. And that's how it is, like it automatically applies the policy. Like I just have to configure, click a few, by using a few clicks, and it applies the security to it. So if it is deployed on Kubernetes as well, we get the same features. We can use your Mule Flex gateway for that. If it's on like the native MuleSoft, the Cloud Hub, which we spoke about, it could be like, we have all the APIs and the Flex gateways and stuff. So yeah, we can do it. Any other questions? Okay, I think with that, that's it. Thank you. Okay.